be upon you all. A few days before the election, my 7-year-old daughter came up to me and asked me, "Mama, what happens if Donald Trump becomes president?" I looked at her and said, "It wouldn't hurt if we go and live with Grandma in Beirut for a few years." So she answered me, "I love that idea, but isn't that called running away from our problems?" So I really had to contemplate about her answer. So I thought to myself, how can I use my communication skills and media experience so that I can help eliminate prejudice against Muslims here in the US? You see, I grew up in Lebanon. In Lebanon, we have more than 18 religious groups, and I never thought about that. The country mostly comprises of Muslims and Christians who live side by side, whose political disagreements at some point led to a civil war and political violence, specifically when religion was being politicized. But let me tell you how the community actually survived this. Meet my group of friends: a Christian married to a Muslim, a Sunni girl married to a Shia man, a Christian couple, and me and my friends are Muslim couples. Muslims and Christians are neighbors. They are work colleagues. They are friends. They sometimes belong to the same family. One of my Christian friends went to me to the mosque one day when she was in distress, and I went to her church on her wedding day. And it was no big deal. It was everyday life for us. I personally grew up in a Catholic school. I went to a Catholic school, and one of my friends, one of my classmates, was a nun. Muslims and Christians knew each other well enough to know that their disagreements are political and do not take root in the religion itself. And they knew each other well enough to ask each other uncomfortable questions. Have a look at this picture. Hundreds and thousands of people from all religious groups gathered together in a downtown square to oppose an oppressive regime that was occupying the country at that time. Isn't that beautiful? That peaceful demonstration, after much struggle, actually liberated the country. How powerful is that? Now, what makes Lebanese people more equipped to handle religious diversity? How come that a population of mostly Muslims and Christians live side by side peacefully and have more than 90% favorable opinions of each other? What can we learn from this experience, and how can we replicate it here in America so that we can have a better understanding of one another? In 2008, I booked myself a one-way ticket to the US to join my husband, and no, I did not use that specific airplane. I did not know what to expect. So we had consecutive pregnancies, so I got to watch TV more than I really want to. And I got to see the Muslim scene being hijacked by terrorists in the media. You see a panel discussing Islam without a Muslim there. I thought to myself, I need to speak out. This is not how it should be. So I started reaching out to every single person I had access to, like a group of friends I used to attend baby classes with. I invited a group of friends over to my house, modeling a gathering per Islamic tradition. I invited a group of friends to the nearby mosque to have a fast-breaking experience in the month of Ramadan, our fasting month. I did my Lebanese magic. And I spoke and I reached out at every opportunity, specifically when I felt like hiding away. To my surprise, the city of Eden Prairie awarded me the Human Rights Award for dismantling misconceptions and building bridges of unity. Now, Muslims constitute only 1% of the population here in America. So how can we replicate this? How can we make more Muslims available to the public? Well, an increase in the Muslim population is one answer, but I was hoping for a more practical one. But first, let me share with you something that happened a couple of months ago. I go to a hairdresser here in the Twin Cities that accommodate my need for a no-man zone where I can just remove my head covering and sit down, relax, and have a haircut. I went there and I started chatting away with my hairdresser with my hijab off, when another hairdresser came over from the washing area with her client and settled just across from us. As my hairdresser was working on my hairstyle, I heard the word Sharia law. And so I listened carefully, and the conversation went something like this. Can you believe those people, them and the Sharia law? And her client said, do you believe it's being implemented in schools? And I'm like, really? And then she said, the men marry 8 wives, and her client said, no, it's 3 wives. So I was privileged to have access to a conversation that almost never happens in front of me. I reached for my phone and texted my husband. This is what's happening. What do you think I should do? So he said, do what you do best after your haircut. So I did. As I was checking out, I asked my hairdresser to go call the other hairdresser so that I can speak to her for a few minutes. She did that, came back saying, I'm sorry, the other hairdresser is busy. I asked her to go again to the hairdresser and ask her if I can go to her station and speak to her for a few minutes. She did that again, same answer, the other hairdresser is unavailable. At that moment, the assistant manager saw me a little frustrated and she said, would you like to leave a message? Seeing no other option, I said yes, and this is what I wrote. Dear friend, I overheard your conversation with your client about Sharia law and Muslim practices. As a Muslim woman, I want to know if you have a Muslim in your life, or if you have an Islamic source you get your information from. I believe we need to be more informed in our conversations, making them part of the solution and not part of the problem. I would like to be your new Muslim friend, and I left my phone number and my name, and I told her, please reach out to me whenever you have some free time. Basically, a simple conversation. Now, the only unknown call I received that evening was a call from the library informing me about my overdue books. So I'm still waiting for that phone call. But I was inspired to write about my experience on Facebook. I posted a post, and the likes counted to 110,000, and the comments were 6,500 comments. Around 300 people reached out to me saying, we want you to be our new Muslim friend. A local TV station contacted me and featured my story on the local news, and Glamour magazine contacted me asking me to feature my story in their upcoming activism issue. So I'm really heartened by the feedback. People want to know about Islam. They want to know about Muslims. They want to get to know a Muslim. But honestly, what about that hairdresser? What about the millions that are consumed in their misconceptions and refusing to have a simple conversation? What about the thousands of towns that are isolated and do not have a single Muslim living in them? How can we reach them? My suggestion is that we have to give Muslim the mainstream media platform of TV, radio, and magazine so they can present themselves to the larger community. We all feel like we know Oprah, right? We know Ellen, we know Tyra. My suggestion is to give Muslim a mainstream media platform where they can present themselves to the larger community outside of unfortunate events. Let us tell you what life is like for us. Let us relay our stories. Let us say our way of life. Allow us to share with you what is inspiring for us and what is really distressful. My suggestion is to give Muslims a mainstream media platform. Hear from us about the Sharia law and the 5 tenets which all but one already exist in the American Constitution. Hear from us about what Muslims are doing to support minorities in Muslim-populated countries. Hear from us about why Muslim women cover their heads, emulating Mary, the mother of Jesus, peace be upon them both, the most pious woman that ever walked the earth. Hear from us about Prophet Muhammad and what he did for women, not to women. Hear from us if 70,000 scholars gathered in India to denounce all terrorist groups, and if it's a Muslim problem that people do not talk about this and do not know this. Hear from us, Muslim veiled women, if we feel oppressed when no one really wants to hear about what we have to say about our own choice of clothing. Hear from us. Whether you are a mechanic, a banker, an engineer, or a Hollywood producer, please help us invite a Muslim to each and every living room in America. Thank you.